Monica Pearson, One-on-One, sponsored by Montlick Injury Attorneys.
Good evening. Tonight you'll meet a Grammy-nominated and diamond-selling music sensation who started writing hits for singers when he was 16 years old. Then there's the former tailor who became a well-known comic but still wrestles with stage fright. And you'll get to know the winner of the Food Network BBQ Brawl, who describes herself as an unapologetically country girl. Suave, debonair, sexy is how some would describe my first guest, Robin Thicke. And his first new song in years adds to that reputation. The song, I Know What to Do, is the first release from his new album that debuts around Valentine's Day 2025. So I was listening to the song, I Know What to Do with All That. That's a sexy song. For your first time to come back into music in like 5 years, why this theme?
Well, it wasn't, just kind of the song that everyone liked the most and just kind of had the catchy hook and, my signature falsetto. So it just seemed like the right song to put out. But I love the idea of giving a woman all of her due and saying, wow, you are everything, you are all that, but I know what to do with all that.
Ooh.
So that's the idea.
So when I was looking over the album, particularly this song, you play the keyboards, You're the composer, you're the lyricist. Where does all this come from?
Well, I started professionally writing and producing when I was 16. So I wrote with Brandy on her first album when she was 14 years old. And so by the time I was in my early 20s, I'd written and produced dozens of records, platinum records for other people. And that's when I decided to dedicate all of my time to my own music. And since then, I've put almost all of my efforts into my own music.
So when did you start piano?
I was about 12 years old, I taught myself.
You taught yourself?
Yeah, I took a couple lessons when I was 11 and it just didn't click. I didn't really enjoy practicing and doing lessons, but I wanted to try to learn how to play certain songs on the radio. So I would sit down and I'd start with just like the one note of the melody, what the singer was singing, and then try to listen for the bass notes and then try to get the harmony. And then my dad said, you gotta add the harmony. And so, it just kind of built from there. And then once I started working in the studio with other very talented musicians, they would show me a few chords here and show me a new chord there. That's pretty much how Stevie Wonder, he was the young kid in the sessions with all these incredible musicians and they kept showing him little tidbits and then he became the master.
And you became Robin Thicke.
I'll take it.
But when I always like to take people back to when they were younger, how they got involved in music, because your dad was an actor.
Yes.
So where did this music gene come from?
Well, actually, you might not remember, my mom was a singer, Gloria Loring.
Yes.
And she had a #1 record in the 80s with a R&B singer named Carl Anderson. So my mom was a soulful white lady, and my dad was a pretty soulful white dude. And my dad also wrote theme songs. He wrote the Facts of Life theme song, and that's my mom singing it. My dad wrote the Different Strokes theme song, and that's actually my dad singing it. Now the world don't move. That's my dad.
So where does this soul come from? I mean, because Canadian, American?
Well, my mom was from Hell's Kitchen, New York, and my dad was from a small mining town in northern Ontario, Canada. But on my mom's side of the family, her father was a jazz trumpet player. And his father was a jazz trumpet player. So, and on my dad's side, my grandmother used to play the piano in the movie theaters when they were silent pictures or whatever. So I come from a long lineage of musicians on both sides.
And this voice of yours, I mean, it's almost baritone, but it's times you can hit bass, and then you've got this fabulous falsetto. When did you develop that?
I think I have a joke that it was because my family kept telling me to be quiet and stop singing all the time, so I started to learn how to sing really soft and a falsetto voice instead of just belting out and annoying everyone all the time. But I curated my falsetto. Well, the funny thing is that like Prince, who has one of the greatest falsettos ever, is a baritone.
Right.
Most of the best falsetto singers usually have a baritone voice. For whatever reason that is, our voice transfers or translates into falsetto better. Because I'm not a tenor, I'm more of a baritone.
You are definitely a baritone.
Yeah.
He is also a survivor. When One-on-One returns, Robin Thicke talks about overcoming personal tragedy and the tough times he faced professionally, plus the lessons he learned from his famous parents. The song Blurred Lines featured Thicke, T.I., and Pharrell. It was number 1 on 5 radio charts at the same time, a first by any artist. But it also led to a copyright infringement lawsuit from the family of the late singer Marvin Gaye and a $5 million settlement with the family in 2015. That began a series of setbacks for Thicke. After 21 years together, almost 10 married, Thicke and Paula Patton finalized their divorce in 2015. His dad died suddenly from a ruptured aorta in 2016 at the age of 69. And his home in Malibu was destroyed by fire in 2018. He told me the new album is all about healing, love, and relationships.
It's pretty much where my life is at right now. You know, I went through many tragedies year after year. I got divorced and sued, and my father suddenly passed away. My house burned down. My mentor, Andre Harrell, passed away. So I just went through year after year of a lot of tough times. And to come out of that with a healthy, happy family, a loving partner, a beautiful home. I got the TV show, The Masked Singer, and now I got all this new music. So this is really an upswing in my life, and you know what I call like a golden era. You know what I mean? I'm really enjoying my life. I'm very happy right now. So I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate it, and I want to talk about how I got through those tough times, so other people can heal too the same way that I heal.
Really, this album is more than love. It's about self-esteem. It's about self, period.
Yeah, and then spreading that love, you know, and loving my children and wanting to be there for them and wanting to work things out with my partner so I don't recreate my parents getting divorced. Is a little like I don't want to recreate that cycle. I want to keep this family together, and that's what's most important to me right now.
That family includes his 3 children with April Love Geary and his teenaged son from his marriage to Paula Patton.
So luckily, my son Julian already wants to be a singer. He's a songwriter. He does every play and every musical. He's got his mom's talent. He's got mine. And I'm just letting him become his own person, but giving him all of the support and information he needs to be strong on the inside. You know?
He's 14?
14, yeah.
They start smelling themselves at 14.
They know they got stank on them by that point. They know exactly who they are, and they start like I have a funny story. He wrote this great song recently, and because he uses my studio with my production partner, when he has a new song, I let him go down to the studio and cut it and get it going. And I tried to keep my hands off it so he has his own kind of, you know, artistic freedom. But he writes this killer song, and I was like, Julian, do you mind if I sing a version of that? I think it'd be really cool if Dad sang a version of his son's song. And he goes, but that's my song, Dad. So he's already putting his foot in the ground and saying, I'm gonna make my mark and separate myself from my dad. And that's what I wanted to do. You know, my dad was like America's TV dad. So I wanted to be a little rebellious and a little naughty and be a rock star and, you know, be sexy, you know what I mean? So those are kind of, and I wanted to be an artist. You know, I really wanted to write and produce and create my own music. And my father always, encouraged that. He always said, learn to play an instrument, learn to write your own songs, learn to produce your own music, because then you won't have to rely on anybody to create your art.
Wow.
So that was a great lesson.
Best advice from your mom?
Oh, best advice from my mom. Save your money.
Save your money.
Yeah, I think she also taught me a lot about gratitude, you know, and survival and never giving up. You know, my dad always had this kind of bulletproof, you know, hair in the wind kind of swagger. But my mom has been through a lot in her life, and she's extremely strong, and she inspires me, you know, to know that if she can go through all of that, you know, then I have very few excuses, you know. So
what would people be surprised to know about you?
Well, the funny thing is everywhere I go, almost the first thing that everyone says is, I didn't know you were that tall. So
really?
That's what I get. Yeah, because I'm 6'3", and I think for some reason, either having tall women in the videos or I don't know, but people seem to think I'm much shorter than I am.
Who are the artists on your playlist?
Well, I'm a big SZA fan. She's one of my main inspirations these days. I really love how she's vulnerable and powerful and romantic and loving. And so she really represents a lot of the same things that I represent. So she's one of my favorites right now.
And when we look at the past, when you were that 16-year-old coming into the business, who were you trying to emulate?
Well, the funny thing is, at the time, I signed a record deal with Brian McKnight when I was 16, so all my friends called me Brian McWhite. so at the time, he was one of the kind of artists I wanted to represent, I wanted to emulate, which is a great musician who can produce their own music and who sings their butts off, you know? So I was into Jodeci at the time, Boyz II Men, Mary J. Blige during that teenage thing, but I also wanted to have some of that hip hop swagger, you know, coming from the hip hop generation. You want to have a little bit of that fabulous, you know, a little bit of that wipe the dirt off energy, you know what I mean?
Aren't you touring now with Boyz II Men?
I am, yeah. We've been having a great time. They're dads and I'm a dad, so we get to do the shows on the weekend, head home to our families, meet back up on the weekends. But you know, it's been great. I grew up on their music also, so it's been great to hear their hits on these nights.
So when you're working with somebody that you admired, you know, as a kid,
yeah.
How do you keep from fanboying?
Well, I think now I'm just too grown to fanboy over anything, you know what I mean? But I do appreciate the fact that these are the people that I wanted to be like, and here I am, you know, doing my thing right next to them, you know, and so that's a nice feeling. You know, like I remember I was such a huge fan of KC from Jodeci, like that was my guy. I practiced every one of his riffs. And him and I now text each other, you know, and just see how everybody's doing, check in on the family, you know. So those kind of relationships are very special.
Best advice for anybody who wants to be Robin Thicke?
Oh, never give up. Just never give up. Always, you know, and learn from your mistakes. That's really, I think, one of the keys to life is you got to learn from your mistakes because we're all going to make them.
So what is the biggest mistake you think you made?
Taking myself too seriously. Yeah, and being too sensitive to be ridiculed or made fun of or criticized. And when the criticism, because it was all like this, and then you hit a certain peak of fame, and then comes the criticisms and the bad energy, and you need to know how to navigate that and walk through that. And I think I was a little too sensitive, and I couldn't laugh at myself. And through these years doing the Masked Singer TV show and the Real Husbands of Hollywood, and you know, that's really who I am at home. I'm much more funny and fun and, you know, because my dad had a great sense of humor, a house full of comedians. But I was such a serious artist all the time when I was younger, and now I'm really enjoying the journey a lot more. So I would tell younger Robin Thicke, don't take yourself so serious, laugh at yourself, and enjoy the journey a little bit more.
And part of his enjoying his journey in Atlanta was visiting the Slutty Vegan restaurant on Edgewood Avenue, where he served free meals. Owner Pinky Cole Hayes named a new meal after Robin. It's called the Thicke Meal. It's a plant-based patty with pickle, vegan white cheese, onions, lettuce, tomato, slut sauce, and fries inside the burger on a vegan Hawaiian bun. It's served with a side order of vegan nuggets. And no, Robin is not a vegan.
He's a tailor turned comedian, but suffers from serious stage fright. Up next, J. Anthony Brown on fighting off the feeling and his new business ventures. Plus, the one and only celebrity who got mad at him over a parody. J. Anthony Brown is a comedian, actor, writer, and an entrepreneur. He sells laughter and hot sauce, peanuts and wine. It's hard to believe this outgoing guy suffers from stage fright. This is just one of the things I learned about James Anthony Brown when we went one-on-one.
J. Anthony Brown has done it all. Currently, he's Vinny on Tyler Perry's show Assisted Living on BET.
Oh, I hate Brown. Oh, I hate Brown. Oh, I hate it when he's around. 'Cause I hate Brown. Second verse.
But he's also hosted Comic View, performed on Def Comedy Jam, and was a regular on the Tom Joyner radio show for 20 years and has been on the Steve Harvey Show. He's won an NAACP Image Award and a Peabody Award. And none of this is what James Anthony Brown dreamed of doing while growing up in Columbia, South Carolina.
I went to trade school. But you know what? When I say I go to trade school, I never say it right away. I say I went to tailoring school in Denmark. And then there's a long pause.
Because they think,
over there, Denmark, South Carolina, but which is across the street from Voorhees. Yeah, and my daughter went to Voorhees, and I went there. It was a 2-year course for tailoring, and it was weird. I wasn't almost a tailor. When I was in high school, I wanted to take home ec to learn how to sew, and I had a teacher tell me, She said, you cannot take home ec because we don't have any boys sewing machines. We only have girls sewing machines.
What's the difference?
Oh, there is no difference. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So I brushed it off. In my senior year, I go to buy my own sewing machine. And I go in the store and I said, can you give me a man's sewing machine? And the dude was like, what are you talking about? I said, I know there's a lady sewing machine. I don't want that one. I want the male sewing machine. He said, there's only one type of sewing machine. I bought an $18 sewing machine and I started sewing, and then I went to Denmark Tech. But it's amazing how teachers who don't see what you see in yourself will discourage you. And that teacher told me that, and I went to school, and the rest is history because I was a tailor.
But why sewing? Who in your family?
Nobody knew how to sew. My mother, I tell you what, my grandmother could sew. My grandmother made seat covers for all of her furniture by hand. She didn't have a sewing machine. She covered up, and you couldn't go in that room.
That's right.
That room was off limits. You could not go in there, and she made seat covers, and I guess that's probably where I got it from.
So you planned to be a tailor?
No, a designer. I wanted to be a designer.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to this, but I went online and I saw J. Anthony Brown suits for sale.
I had a suit line. Yes, I had my own suit line for a while. It's very complicated because what happens with a suit line is sometimes you'll have something made in a sample, and then you'll give it to your representative, and then they'll make a bunch of them, and that's not what you design. Unless you have full control over, I made this, I want the rest of them to look like this, that could be a problem. So if you're gonna make something, and then they're gonna knock it off and make it cheaper and make it doesn't look like what, that was the problem, so.
Well, I even saw your stuff on all kind of sites.
Oh yeah, there's still some suits out there somewhere. Every now and then I'll meet a person with a J. Anthony Brown suit on. with the 18 buttons, Yeah, that's my suit. It's 18 buttons. Yeah, okay.
J. Anthony took a bus from Columbia, South Carolina to come to a tailoring school in Atlanta.
So I go and I'm accepted to go to school, and the first day I go to class to sign up, and my grant is short $317. It's short $317. So I'm thinking I can start school. And they said, well, you can't start unless your first semester is completely paid for. I said, well, I'll get a job. Just let me start it. I'll get a job. So you cannot start till the first semester is paid for. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm not going back to Columbia, South Carolina.
What?
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm not. It's just not gonna happen. So I ended up getting a job.
Coming up, how a job as a busboy led to comedy for J. Anthony Brown, plus conquering his stage fright, what J. Anthony does before each show to calm his nerves, and the message from Tyler Perry that moved him to tears when One-on-One continues.
J. Anthony lived in the YMCA while looking for work.
Somebody said, well, there's a place called Underground Atlanta, which Underground Atlanta was happening. And I get a job bussing tables. And he said, you can start, and this is the most amazing thing for me. He said, before you start work, you can eat whatever you want out of the kitchen. I'm like, I don't even know how much I made. I could care less. I could eat. He said, and whatever's left over, you can take it home. I'm like, for real? That was a dream job. So I get that job. Then I get a job at Henry's Tailor, which is on Market Street. And then I get a job at Ernie's & Son as a tailor. And then my next big move was Mr. V's. Mr. V's had a gong show. And I go to the gong show. I didn't get gong. You know why?
Why didn't you get gong?
I wasn't up there long enough. So I did one joke, got a laugh, and I got off the stage. And Mr. V said, well, I need somebody to MC my show. I said, well, you got a guy. He said, don't worry about him. I want you. And he gave me a job. And that, in terms of comedy, it changed my life because I could perform there every Monday night. Every Monday night, I could do fake news, I could do song parodies, I could do costumes, whatever. And then the Punchline opened up, which was a real comedy club. And then, I moved to LA.
So what makes good comedy, J. Anthony?
He gonna have me in jail.
Mr. Vinny.
I'm gonna do like the young people. If you feel like you want this smoke, I'm hard. Come on with it then.
Okay, well, I will. Come on with it then.
Hard. You ain't harder than me.
Yeah, I'm harder.
If you feel like you want some of this smoke,
yeah, I feel like I want some of it. I'm feeling myself, and I'm saying I want it.
You can feel yourself more than I can feel.
That's what I want. I want it all. Connecting with the audience. George Carlin had this saying, basically, and George and Myra and all of us, we do what is called ooh yeah, where a comedian can say something and the audience can relate and go, ooh yeah, I know what that is. I know it. George Carlin was instrumental in changing the word hot water tank. A hot water tank, hot water don't need heating. It's already hot water. And he changed the phrase to water tank. So it's just relating to the audience about what you've been through and what you've done so you can get the audience to go, oh yeah, I got that. I mean, we were talking in the dressing room that once you reach a certain age, I can't tell how many times I bought the same thing 3 times. I
can relate.
I got 17 10-foot phone cords at the house, So it just, and everybody can relate to that. George and I and Myra J were talking and said, how many times you rented a car that you don't know how to put the gas in the car? You don't know where the gas goes. How many times have you rented a car when you go to the wrong car? You're like, I'm trying to open, why is this car not opening? Because it's not yours.
So is there anything that you won't make fun of? Anything you won't make a joke about?
Large people coming in the audience, I will not. And people getting up and going to the restroom, I won't make fun of. No. But if you're large and you're late, that's a gift from God.
Ooh.
If you're large and late and you sit up front, it's what we call the comedy God has smiled. The comedy God has smiled upon you to send you this nugget of comedy that thank you, Jesus.
J. Anthony often performs with comedians Myra J. and George Wallace. George and J. Anthony tell jokes about each other's mother. But there is one thing J. Anthony does not joke about.
But when you do these acts on the road together, you tell me you are the one who has nerves about it.
No, it is not nerves. It's stage fright.
Come on, J. Anthony.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I have the worst. And I've seen people like, I knew Carole King had stage fright, Julie Garland had stage fright. Mine would be equal to that. Yeah, I mean, I do not want to go out there. And George and Myra are sitting back, eating, cussing me, telling me to sit down and shut up, and it's the worst. And it's always been like that.
So how do you really sensibly get yourself to the place where you can walk on the stage? What do you do?
It's a lot of pacing around.
A little Jack Daniels?
No drinking, no, I can't. I have a hard enough time remembering this stuff as it is. Don't let me go out there drunk. No, I can't drink, I can't eat. I'm walking back and forth, and then I can go out there and I can do an hour. I can have the best time ever.
J. Anthony is known for his parody of songs. It's called Murdering the Hits. He says singer Keith Sweat is the only celebrity who ever complained.
Do you hear from the people?
The only person
to
ever get mad at me and approach me where, he didn't like it was Keith Sweat. Because we did, I've always had this thing in my head that Keith Sweat sounds like a bee. She's winning, I wanna know. It sounds like that's a bee. Yeah.
And he didn't like it.
No, he didn't like it. You know, and he talks, if you ever met Keith Sweat?
Yes.
He talks in the third person.
Yes.
He said, Keith Sweat don't like that. I'm looking around. Who the hell you talking? Yeah, he calls himself the sweater. He said, the sweater don't like. I'm like, what's he?
And he's the only one.
He's the only one.
Can anybody hurt your feelings?
Oh, yeah. I've never said this before. When I left the Tom Joyner show, what I wanted was my own show. After 20 years, I had been there. And we were going back and forth, you know, in terms of you're not going to get your own show. It's the best thing for you. And he said to me, and like I said, I've never said this to anybody. He said, you're not going to get your own show. And all you are to this show is a high-priced sidekick. And, you know, I have no ill feelings toward Tom because it wasn't all his decision that I didn't get my own show. But I felt after 20 years of sitting there and being the sidekick that I should have gotten the show. And the fact that I didn't, I wasn't on the show.
Yeah, but it hurt someone who was your friend to say.
Yeah.
But you're a forgiving person. Uh-oh.
We'll be right back after these messages.
It was a message from Tyler Perry that moved J. Anthony Brown to tears. After 3 seasons on the show Assisted Living,
Well, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, and I was wrong about you being ugly.
Well, you a liar. Ain't nobody ugly up in here.
Was it the devil is a liar?
Have you seen you?
Beat you to it, huh?
J. Anthony got COVID and couldn't work season 4.
Mr. Perry called me up and said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I never said this. I've never said this to anybody. He told me, don't worry about it. You just get well and come back. Because television, you can get replaced. You know? There's numerous stories of people, you go upstairs and you never come down the steps. And that's the end of your career. He didn't do that to me. He just, and I was crying. He called me up. He said, don't worry about it. We got you. Just get well.
Coming up, what J. Anthony Brown loves about his role on the show Assisted Living.
You can talk to anybody else in this house, but do not.
How you doing?
Tell him in a Christian way not to talk to me.
He said don't talk to him.
And the side hustles that turned this comedian into an entrepreneur. Then later, meet Erica Barrett, a restaurateur who won the latest BBQ Brawl on the Food Network.
Tyler Perry's show Assisted Living on BET is entering its 7th season. J. Anthony loves being on the show playing Vinny and working with David Mann, who is Leroy Brown.
How much of that character is really J. Anthony?
I think Vinny is me. Vinny is me. Vinny is very outspoken. I've never been in a place where I could talk about a derivative of a character that I play. You know, he's a sharp dresser. We don't know, Vinny's never had a girlfriend, but he talks about women all the time.
Clown, and I don't know you.
I'm calling you a clown.
You don't call me. I don't know you like that. You don't call me no clown. Who you calling a clown? Who are you?
You don't remember me?
Yes, I remember you. You the devil.
And him and Brown, I'm Brown, Mr. Brown's antagonist. So, and we go at it. And if I see Mr. Brown with something on, my mind just starts writing jokes.
That surgery got approved?
No, that suitcase means you'll be leaving town for good like I've been praying, right?
Wrong. This suitcase means that my place is being renovated and I'm gonna have to stay the night here at Pleasant Days.
Damn, Brown, you like old curly, nasty hair stuck on a bar of soap. No matter how hard I try, I just can't get rid of you, man. So one day he comes down and he's got on a cow shirt, like cowhide shirt, and cowhide pants, and like cowhide socks. And so he's going back and forth. I said, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna take you in the back room and milk your ass.
So,
And it's back and forth.
so everything you all do is really ad lib.
Not all of it. No, there's a script.
There is a script.
There's a script.
But you're allowed to.
But you're allowed to ad lib a lot.
And that's why it's so natural.
Yeah, it's fun. It is so much fun.
First given unto the First Lady, the Bishop, deacons, deaconess, elders, ushers, motherboard, and the janitors, and the one heathen that we have in the room. God loves all of his creatures.
Takes one to know one.
J. Anthony Brown has a lot on his plate besides his comedy. One of his side hustles is his hot sauce business that now has expanded to include spicy peanuts and mofo wine. He has 5 hot sauces: peach and pepper, cayenne, habanero, garlic, and hotter than a mofo.
So, J. Anthony, why do you have all of these different businesses? Where did that come from?
Because I heard somebody say you should be invested in something that allows you to make money when you sleep. And that, boom.
So what is left for J. Anthony Brown to do? I mean, you've done television, you've done movies, you do great stand-up, you've got your own businesses. What is it left for you to reach for?
I'm doing my own album, and I want the world to see my art. I really want people to see me, which is I've always been so protective of showing my art. You know, I would not show it to people.
But now?
Now I must have 3,000 to 4,000 pieces of art that I've drawn. It's more than that probably. It's everywhere. It's all in my house.
So far, he's only exhibited his art at a show in Washington, D.C. We'll keep you posted. Erica Barrett is always cooking up something, literally and figuratively. She's a chef, a restaurateur, a manufacturer, a visionary, and an award-winning grill master. She won the 5th season of competition on Chef Bobby Flay's BBQ Brawl, seen on the Food Network. She's someone you need to know, since her story is truly food for thought.
Hi, Brawlers! We're coming in hot and fast! We pick our teams from the best barbecue talent in America. Let's go! Let's go!
Erica Barrett describes herself as an unapologetically country girl from Mobile, Alabama, who knows her way around a kitchen and a backyard grill.
You know what? Barbecue is soul food, too. Barbecue is Southern. I think a lot of times we place emphasis on, the chicken and the collard greens, but the most primitive way of cooking is open fire. And when we think about going to barbecue restaurants, we're really eating soul food. You're still eating the collard greens. You're still having potato salad. You're just having low and slow smoked meats. So, doing barbecue brawl was my way of just really paying homage to just like the most primitive way of cooking. It's just an open fire. They number the stove outside with an open fire, and you can literally make anything, when you're barbecuing. So when I had the opportunity to apply to be on Barbecue Brawl, didn't know what was going to happen, but I love my big green egg.
We have 2 at my house. We have 2.
I love offset smokers. I love Santa Maria's. I've always been obsessed with grills. Like, I'm a girl who grills in my backyard on a regular basis. Doesn't rain, sleet, snow, I'm smoking meat. So the opportunity to showcase that and show just like who I am as a chef and be multidimensional, it just was the perfect opportunity. When I went on the show, my grandmother had passed in December. I think I applied for the show maybe like the day after. I was in a place of grief. Going out there, being alone, being able to just really be mentored by Bobby because I was on his team.
Got this?
Yes.
All right.
I'm like, I'm gonna soak this all up. Like, money can't buy the experience to be able to stand next to Bobby and be coached by him and get real feedback from some of the world's best chefs and food personalities. So I really just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and learn as much as I could.
So what have you learned from him?
Oh man, how to balance flavors. Bobby is really big on balancing flavors. My food is typically sweet, and I love everything sweet. I'm from the South. Sweet Alabama cornbread, sweet tea. I want a little sugar in my collard greens. I love sweet food. One of the things that Bobby always talked to me about on the show is, Erica, the way you win this competition is by balancing your flavors. So I would always have Bobby taste my food. Because you got to taste it to know how to adjust. If you're getting hours to cook this food and you have a mentor there, you don't say, here, taste this. What do I need to do? It's like, I think it needs a little bit more vinegar. You maybe need a little bit more heat. This is an Iron Chef and someone that's won more competitions on Food Network than anybody else. So he really taught me how to balance and really kind of create more of like that umami flavor where you really just kind of like blow people away by having balanced flavors.
Bobby is Bobby Flay, the celebrity chef.
Hey, Flay! You want another title shot?
Who's won 4 daytime Emmys and has hosted 17 cooking shows. Still to come, how Erica went from working at Target to negotiating a deal to get her products on store shelves. Plus, the leap of faith that landed her a $10,000 Food Network sponsorship and launched her culinary career.
Erica has been cooking since she was 9 years old, but never considered it as a career. She majored in business finance at Clark Atlanta University.
For me, I didn't feel like I could make a career, a lucrative career in food. I just wasn't exposed to all the opportunities that are in food. At the time, I was just thinking, if I'm a chef, I will have to work in someone's restaurant, maybe make $20,000, $30,000 a year and not have a fulfilling life with food. And eventually I got exposed just through my faith and just kind of figuring out what's out there in food, that there's so many things that you can do in food and live a great life. You hear all the time restaurant failure rates are very high, right? The restaurant industry is suffering. But let me tell you, when you have talent, it will make room for you. And all those factors, they may affect you, but that passion that keeps burning is what kind of keeps you in it.
Okay, let's talk about some of the things you have done passionately. I laughed when I saw you had worked at Target, and now you're actually negotiating with Target to carry some of your products.
Absolutely. That was my first job out of college. So business finance, got my degree. Target comes on campus. They're recruiting, young, black, talented people from Clark Atlanta. And I'm like, hey, sign me up. I need a job. I love shopping at Target. But Target laid a very strong foundation for me. Going to their leadership academy, managing a $40 million store at 21. I didn't even know what I was doing. But to be able to have that heavy responsibility at such a young age gave me confidence in everything else that I've done to be able to lead and go out with confidence and, be a visionary to my team members now because I was doing the same thing at Target. So
in 2010, you got brave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And actually won $10,000 with a Food Network sponsorship and Lee and Perrin's sponsorship. So what made you take that leap of faith?
I just wanted to see how I measured up. Like, I had been cooking my entire life, and everyone said, hey, your food is amazing. Your food is great. Like, my friends were telling me that. I'm like, yeah, I know y'all love me. And I know you love for me to cook for you, but is it really good? So I just wanted to know, like, where did I land on the spectrum of being able to cook and compete against other people? So I told my ex-husband now, my husband at the time, so I think I want to do this contest and just kind of see how I measure up. It was a 4-minute video, shine at dinner time. You had to use Worcestershire sauce to make a dish. And I did these Asian pork tacos, and I did like a Asian slaw using Worcestershire sauce. It was really, 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 it was good.
It was obviously good because you won $10,000.
Yeah. I was so shocked. Like, I had everybody at work voting for me, people back home. I have people tell me now, hey, I voted for you in 2010. Don't forget I voted for you. I'm like, thank you so much, because that contest was a pivotal moment for me. It was, I need to take myself more seriously. That was that moment of, if I could win this contest on Food Network, win a trip to New York, win $10,000, there's something else that's there. And I want to see what's there and where it'll take me.
So when did you decide you maybe needed to go to culinary school?
2016. So
why?
I had manufactured. Well, I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be respected as a chef. So I had my product line. I started Southern Culture Foods. That was 2010.
And that's 90% of your sales now, right?
Yeah.
She manufactures her products and the products for other brands, such as grits for Ebony Austin, to sell in Publix and in her Nouveau restaurants. Erica also revolutionized the pizza business and got the attention of radio personality Ryan Cameron, who put her Doughboy Pizza in South DeKalb Mall. It's a different kind of pizza shop.
So I started to rethink all of the problems that I found in like the pizza space and just in the restaurant space in general. High labor costs, high food costs, high turnover. And I started to reverse engineer how I felt like a restaurant should be ran. And I said, if I'm going to do this pizza shop, because this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to do Southern food. It needs to be easy. So I designed Doughboy Pizza to be a smart pizza shop, which means one, it's in 100 square feet. Our first one was in 100 square feet. Ryan's is in 500 square feet. There's no vent hoods or grease traps. So from an affordability standpoint, the ability to be able to open up a restaurant and it be affordable is there. With Ryan, we took a second generation, an old Subway, and flipped it into a pizza shop. Labor is low. We run 10 to 11% labor costs.
His daughter actually runs his.
Yep. And sometimes Caden as well when he's back from school. But labor costs are low. And then more so than anything, anybody can own a pizza shop. We don't make our pizza crust in-house. It's commissary. We import it from Italy. It's consistent, which is very important to fast casual. It's a really good focaccia dough that we get. So it eliminates the need or the skill for someone to have to come in 2-3 hours and just prep dough. So that's why we call it a smart pizza shop, because it's meant to be easy to run. It's very efficient.
I noticed on your Instagram account where you are, I found this fascinating. You are looking for businesses to invest in or to help people grow.
Yeah. Especially with my products. So 2 years ago, it's probably been almost 3 years, I decided to help other people create their product lines so that, I realized that it was very hard when I started my pancake line. I didn't have a lot of help. There's not a lot of information out there on how to start your own product line. And from doing that, I was able to be on Shark Tank. I was featured as one of Oprah's favorite things. I've done Good Morning America. I've been able to, sell on QVC. And I just wanted to help other people. How do you get on the store shelves? What does it cost you? How long is it going to take to do these grocery store reviews? Do you want to just sell online? Do you want to sell on Amazon and really do you understand cash flow? And I've been able to be good at that because I've made cash flow mistakes before, right? There's times where, I have maybe 30 invoices out, $1 million worth of invoices out for grocery stores, and I got to wait 90 days on the money. Oof. That's 6 payrolls. It hurts. It looks great because you're in all those stores, but from a cash flow perspective, it doesn't work for a business. So I make sure that my clients don't make those mistakes that I've paid for. And I think that's the great part about what I do is I know I'm good because I know exactly what not to do.
My last thing is going to make you laugh because it hit me when I was looking at your Instagram handle. It's I am Erica Barrett, but it also is I America.
Yes, you realize that? Oh, God. No one's ever really picked that up.
And that says a lot about you and your cooking, I America. It's Southern, it's American cuisine.
It's American cuisine. I intentionally did that. I noticed it a long time ago. It's just, I America, like I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be able to showcase and tell stories of the South more than anything. That's what I feel like my cooking is about. But even though I have I am Erica Barrett, the fact that you noticed that, like, you are very, very detailed and intuitive to be able to pick that up. But barbecue is American. Southern food is probably the most notable regional cooking that we have. You don't hear people say, you know what, I really like the way the East Coast makes something, or I really love, California cuisine. It's no. You ever had some Southern cooking? You ever had some fried chicken? Did you ever have a biscuit? And I'm very, very proud to be a Southern girl and to have my upbringing in the South and be able to showcase, stories of the South and our way of life.
Thank you for joining me. And don't forget to subscribe to Peachtree TV, where you can watch all episodes of Monica Pearson One-on-One. Good night.